Okay, so I thought rather than me demonstrating in class and going over stuff, it'd be much better if I just made a video so that I can explain to everyone what they need, and then if people forget what they should be doing or anything like that, they can just refer back to the video. But this should save some people time, and then it'll give other people directions in terms of what they should be doing. So, the first thing that you should be doing this week is completing the Elements project. Only 3 people turned this in last week. So I know most of you started this project, but this is exactly what you should be working on. Again, for the Elements project, you're creating 4 different squares. One that represents color, one that represents texture, one that represents line, and one that represents shape. I have a number of good examples right here, and then also there are some that are now hanging up behind the printer. I know that the printer last week was not working. However, it was fixed. I got it fixed on Friday after I think like 5th period, so now the printer should be working. So if you need to reprint any of your work, that's fine. Remember that each of these grids is 5 inches by 5 inches, and when you're pasting these onto the black mat board, there should be exactly 1 inch between all of your work. Now there's not exactly 1 inch on this one, but there should be 1 inch between all of your work and 1 inch between the top and the bottom and all the sides. So there are rulers next to the scissors, so you need to make sure that you put exactly 1 inch between all of your different 5 by 5 inch squares. And again, line, shape, texture, and color. And the color one should just have, you just want to find an image that represents all colors, so any image that contains all colors. In texture, it doesn't matter to me what texture you pick. I just want you to find an image that contains something that has a lot of texture. So something that looks rough, or something that you know something that looks really smooth or shiny, something that just looks like it has a lot of texture. Okay, so that's the first thing that you should be doing. I changed the due date of that to today. So the due date of that is now today, Monday, the 2nd. The next thing that you should be working on is the Emotions project. Okay, so for the Emotions project, let me kind of open this up and go through this. So for the Emotions project, you're going to be creating 3 11 by 8.5 documents, 11 inches by 8.5 documents that express an emotion for this project. You're going to be using the elements and principles of design that I've been talking about: line, shape, texture, color, and I'm going to talk a lot more about color in just a minute. You do not need to use all 4 of the elements in each document, but you should use all 4 somewhere in this project. Each document should express an emotion. 2 of the 3 emotions have been chosen for you. The other will be your choice. So again, if you're like confused about stuff, check out the Elements and Principles PowerPoint. I went over that last week, and the color PowerPoint, I'm going to go over that actually in this video for examples on how to use each. You may also research an emotion. Inspiration can come from anywhere. So the first thing that you should do is to write which principles and elements you're going to be incorporating for each emotion below. See my example. So happy. So my example emotion is happy. The 2 that are given to you are anger and relaxation, and then you're going to have to choose one and create that. So my example for happy is, for this emotion, I'll be using the colors yellows and orange for my fonts. I'm going to be using a bubbly font with no hard, sharp angles. I'm going to be using a blue background because that's the complementary color of orange. I will be using curved lines, and the image will have a smooth finish. So notice I'm incorporating color, shape, line, and texture into my image that I'm creating. So you're going to have to create an image for anger, relaxation, and one for your choice. And then you want to write in this area right here, what are going to be the shapes that you're using? What's the font that you're going to be using? And I'm going to talk about how to install fonts in a minute here. What are the colors that you're going to be using? I'll talk about colors here in a minute. Are you going to be using, what type of texture are you going to be using? Are you going to be using any shapes? What kind of shapes are you going to be using? So you want to write that in this area for each anger, relaxation, and then your choice. You actually have to write an emotion that you want to express. So you'll write that, and then you'll write the textures, colors, shapes, lines, anything that you're going to be incorporating into your image. So then next, you're going to be creating three separate pieces of art. Each is going to be 11 by 5.5, which is landscape. It's just a normal sheet of paper that's turned sideways or like hot dog style. In the center of your document, you're going to be writing the emotion or the word, the actual word, using a font of your choice. You can and probably should change the color of your font to reflect the given emotion. Make sure your word is legible. This is really important. So make sure that people can read your font. So it's really important that you choose a background color and a color for your font that makes it to be legible. And I'll talk about that in a minute. We did spend some time talking about shapes in class, and you should apply that knowledge to your fonts. Some fonts use curved lines and are rounded shapes. Some use sharp angles and are boxy. Think about the emotion a particular font might be expressing and try to pick fonts for your documents appropriately. Everything you create is your choice. Make sure each object you add to your add to the project is the emotion that you're trying to express. We'll be talking more about typography in the next unit, so see the example of my work below. And note that the background picture that you're going to choose should be an abstract image. So an example, if you choose the emotion sad, don't use a sad face, okay? If you choose the emotion like happy, don't use a smiley face, okay? We're looking for an abstract image, okay? You want to find, so if your emotion is sad, don't use a sad face. Rather find an abstract image that is gray and has downward sloping curves that would represent sad. So you're looking for an image that represents sad. Take a look at my example art. So my example emotion is happy. This is my example. Obviously I don't have a smiley face, but I have rays going up. So remember, upward facing lines with that represents kind of the almighty. It represents inspiration. I'm using lots of bright colors. I'm using yellow and orange and blues. I have very bright colors in here. None of my shapes are jagged. I have very round shapes. Okay, so all of this would represent happy. Obviously, there's nothing on here that's just besides the word happy. It's not like a happy face. I have an abstract image in my background that represents happy. So this is one piece of art that I've created. You're going to have to create three. You're going to have to create one for anger, one for relaxation, and then one for your choice. So whatever emotion that you want. So you might be thinking, what are the colors that I should use? Let me talk about, let's go in here. If I go to my color wheel PowerPoint, so colors really can represent a lot of different emotions. So when we take a look, no thanks, here's our color wheel right here, and you can really see, we talked about the complementary colors before, yellow, purple, orange and blue, green, red. Okay, so we've talked about complementary colors before. Complementary colors, if you use those two colors together, a lot of times they bounce off of each other. They really reflect. So if you use one in the background, choose the complementary color in the foreground, and it'll make the text or whatever's in the foreground really pop. Okay, so let's learn a little bit about colors. So color mixing. It's easy to mix paint, make new colors. When you're mixing colors, you use the primary colors. So red, blue, yellow, these are our primary colors. Everything comes from these three colors. So when you're mixing paint, red, blue, yellow, and black, and then once you have black, you can get pretty much every color in the rainbow. So for instance, if you mix red and yellow together, you get orange. If you mix red and blue together, you make purple. Blue plus yellow equals green. So by mixing primary colors, you can create the secondary colors. Again, our primary colors are red, yellow, and blue, and our secondary colors are going to be orange, purple, and green. Also, think about tints. And in the color theory worksheet that you guys completed, it really talked a lot about tints. So tints are actually pretty important. Right over here we have some light tints, and right over here we have some dark tints. When making text legible, if your background is very dark, then your text should be a very light tint. Okay? If your background is a very light tint, very bright, then your foreground or your text should be very dark. And so you can kind of actually notice that in my example. So my background is very light, right? We have lots of whites going on right here and very light blues. So then although the colors that I have in my foreground, that my HAPPY, my yellow and orange, although those are very bright colors, notice it's a very like heavy tint. Okay, so when we're looking at tints, this is a light tint, this is a dark tint. There is a lot of yellow, there's a lot of orange. That's because the background is a very light tint. This would be a very dark tint of yellow, meaning that there's a lot of that color visible. There's not a lot of white mixed in with this. So when you're creating yours, if your background is very light, very bright, using a lot of whites, then you're going to want to use a dark tint in the foreground for your text. Opposite, if your background is very dark, then you're going to want to use a very light tint in the foreground. Okay, kind of skipping here. I'm going to kind of skip down. We talked about the color wheels. We've talked about primary colors. Again, primary colors, yellow, red, and blue. Those are three colors. You can make everything else from those three colors plus white plus black. So these are primary colors. Secondary colors are their opposite colors, or the secondary. So the complementary colors of those. Let's kind of go down here. So warmer colors. So warmer colors, the warm colors are reds, yellows, and orange, anything in between them. They can be called warm because they remind you of the sun and fire. Warm colors seem to come at you in space. If you want to get somebody's attention, you should use something like a warm color. These are our warm colors right here. So if you're looking to grab somebody's attention, like a stop sign might, use warm colors. Okay, reds, yellows, oranges. Okay, take a look at this painting right here. This was using a lot of warm colors. Again, the warm colors in the sunset give a feeling of brightness and heat. If you look at the red sphere from the sun and the deep golden glow of the water, if you're feeling cold and you look at this image, it actually makes you feel warmer. And then the opposite is true for cooler colors. Cooler colors will actually make you feel colder. So let's talk about cooler colors. The cool colors are blue, green, and purple. Anything in between. These are called cool colors because they remind you of the earth, maybe a cool creek. Cool colors seem to recede from you in space or pull away from you. So take a look at this art. In this painting by Monet, The Walking Lady, there's a lot of cool colors being used. The cool colors of the ground and sky contribute to the peaceful feeling of the painting. Imagine how different the painting would look with a red, bright sky. It would be if this was red back here, it would seem much more energetic. But because cool colors are being used, this looks very peaceful, very tranquil, kind of like it's coming out of nature. Okay, that's what the cool colors do. Red colors, on the other hand, bright colors or warm colors are really bright, and they really make it look like there's a lot of movement. Neutrals. So neutrals don't usually show up on the color wheel. Neutrals include black, white, gray, and sometimes brown or beige. They're sometimes called earth tones. There's a few different ways to make neutrals. You can blend blacks and whites together to make a gray, or you can create a brown by blending two different complementary colors together, or by blending all three primary colors together. So that'll kind of create browns. Okay, so a monochromatic scheme consists of different values or tints of a shade of color. So obviously all of these are different tints of the same color green. This just includes colors mixed with black and white. The example above is a green monochromatic color scheme. So these schemes are super important. If your backgrounds are using really dark tints, then your foreground should be using very light tints, and that'll really make your image pop. Okay, every color has these monochromatic color schemes. So analog colors. So these are the colors that are located right next to each other in the color wheel. So an example of analogous colors: blue, blue, green, and green; red, red, orange, and orange. Analogous colors are sometimes called harmonious colors. They go really well together. So here's an example of orange, orange, yellow, and yellow all used together in a painting. They're blended together nicely in the sunflower painting. This is made by Vincent van Gogh. How do you know these colors are all closely related? They share the same color. Each of them contains some yellow in them. So this painting, if you're like looking to blend different colors together, think of the colors that are right next to each other on the color wheel. Complementary colors. We've talked about these before in class, but we have red, green, blue, orange, purple, yellow. So red, green is an example of complementary colors. Looking at this painting, Roses by John Sangart, the reddish pink color in the flowers really stand out against the green background. So if you're looking for something to stand out, use the complementary color. So if your background is orange and you want something to really stand out or pop in the foreground, you should make those the color blue. If you want things to pop, use complementary colors. Split complementary colors. So a split complementary color scheme includes a main color and the two on the opposite. So, for example, split color of green might be violet red and orange right there. And then double split colors, you can kind of see this right here, also called, this uses two pairs of complementary colors. An example might be red-green and orange-blue. Using different types of colors in your work can really enhance the meaning. It can really make different objects pop out, or it can make them fade into the background. It just depends. Do you want everything to kind of blend together and be kind of one cohesive, flowing painting, or do you want things to really stand out and pop? You know, it just really depends on your art. So each color has some meaning behind it. Red is the color of fire. It's associated with energy, war, danger, strength, power, determination, love. Red is a very emotional, intense color. It enhances the human metabolism. It increases respiration rate. It raises the blood pressure. It has very high visibility, which is why stop signs, stoplights, fire equipment are all usually painted red. It's the color found in a lot of national flags. Red brings text and images to the foreground, so you should use red as an accent color to stimulate people, to make people know how to make quick decisions. It's perfect. It's a perfect color for like buy now or click here buttons on the internet. Red just really pulls your eye in. Again, that's why it's used with traffic signs, stop signs, things like that. Orange. So orange combines the energy of red and the happiness of yellow. It's associated with joy, sunshine, and the tropics. Orange represents enthusiasm, fascination, happiness, creativity, determination, attraction, success, and encouragement. To the human eye, orange is not a very hot color, so it doesn't give it gives the sensation of heat. Nonetheless, orange is not as aggressive as red. Orange increases oxygen supply to the brain, produces an invigorating effect, and simulates mental activity. As a citrus color, orange is associated with healthy foods and may stimulate the appetite. Orange is the color of fall and harvest. So orange is also highly visible, so you can catch it to use people's attention, just like the color red. Yellow. Yellow is the color of sunshine. It's associated with joy, happiness, intellect, and energy. So you can probably see why on my emotion project for happy, I chose the colors yellow and orange in my foreground text. So very vibrant, happy colors. Right? Yellow produces a warm feeling effect aroused by cheerfulness, mental activity, and generates muscle energy. Yellow is often associated with food. Bright, pure yellow is an attention getter, which is the reason taxi cabs are painted yellow. When overused, yellow can have a disturbing effect. It's known that babies cry more in yellow rooms. Yellow is seen before other colors when placed against black. This combination is often used to issue warnings. Use yellow to invoke a pleasant, cheerful feeling. Yellow is very effective for attracting attention, so use it to highlight the most important elements of your design. Shades of yellow are visually unappealing because they lose the cheerfulness and become dingy. So often, if you're going to use yellow, you're going to want to use a very bright, vibrant yellow that is a very high tint, just like I used on here. So, next, green. So green is the color of nature. It symbolizes growth, harmony, and freshness. Green has a strong emotional correspondence with safety. Dark green is also commonly associated with money. Green has great healing power. It's the most restful color of the human eye. It can actually improve vision. Green suggests stability and endurance. Sometimes green denotes lack of experience. For example, a greenhorn means a novice or somebody that doesn't really know what they're doing. Green, as opposed to red, means safety. It's the color of free passage in road traffic. Green directly relates to nature, so you can use it to promote green products. Dull or darker greens are commonly associated with money in the financial world, banking, and Wall Street. Dark greens also associated with greed and jealousy, while olive green might be the traditional color of peace. Blue. Blue is the color of the sky and sea. It symbolizes trust, loyalty, wisdom, confidence, intelligence, and truth. Blue is considered to be beneficial to the mind and body. It slows the human metabolism and produces a calming effect. Blue is strongly associated with tranquility and calmness. Again, that's why I use blue in my background. So yellow obviously is a very happy and bright color, but I feel like when I'm happy, I'm also, maybe a little calm and like feeling just awesome and relaxed, and with it I don't have a lot of angry emotions, so that's why I chose blue as my background color in this particular image. Blue is used to promote products and services related to cleanliness, water purification filters, clean liquids, air and sky, airlines, airports, air conditioners, water, sea. All of those tend to use a lot of blue in their advertisements. When used together with warm colors like yellow or red, blue can create a high impact, vibrant designs. For example, blue, yellow, red is a perfect color scheme for a superhero. Purple. Purple combines the stability of blue and the energy of red. Purple is associated with loyalty. It symbolizes power, nobility, luxury, ambition. It conveys wealth and extravagance. Purple is associated with wisdom, dignity, independence, creativity, mystery, and magic. According to a survey, almost 75% of pre-adolescent children prefer purple to all other colors. Purple is a very rare color in nature, and some people consider it to be almost artificial. White. White is associated with light, goodness, and innocence. It's considered to be the color of perfection. White means safety, purity, and cleanliness as opposed to black. White usually has a very positive connotation. White can also represent successful beginnings. White's associated with hospitals, doctors, things that are very sterile. White is also often associated with low weight, low fat foods, and dairy products. Black, on the other hand, is associated with power, elegance, death, evil, and mystery. Black is a mysterious color associated with fear and the unknown. Black denotes strength and authority and is considered to be a very formal, elegant, and prestigious color. Black gives the feeling of depth. When designing a gallery for art and photography, you can use blacks and grays in the backgrounds to make other colors stand out. So if you use a dark, very black background, and then pretty much any color in the foreground, whatever that color is, it's really going to pop. Combined with red and orange, other very powerful colors, black gives a very aggressive color scheme. So again, we've kind of talked a little bit about advanced color theory, hue, intensity, and value of a color. So hue refers to the name of the color. So for example, red, blue, purple, those are all hues. Intensity of a color refers to the brightness or dullness of a color. So when a hue is strong and bright, it's said to be a very high intensity. When a color is faint, dull, or gray, it's said to be very low intensity. And the value is the lightness or darkness of a color. So you can obtain different values by adding black or white to a particular color. A light color is called a tint of the original hue. For example, pink is a tint of red. To make colors darker in value, black is added. A dark color is called a shade of the original hue. Like maroon is a shade of red. So you can see we have really dark shades of the different colors right here. And then we have very light colors, a light tint right here. Can you identify the color scheme? So we're using primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. They may not be created by mixing any other colors. Those are original colors. Then we have secondary colors. Secondary colors result from mixing two of the primary colors, which gives us orange, green, and purple. Our cool colors are the colors that range between blue violet and yellow green. Cool colors give us a calm, tranquil sense. Warm colors range between yellow to red violet on the color wheel and gives a lot of energy and a vibrant feeling. The monochromatic colors, those are tints, the color plus white, and shades, the colors plus the black of a single color. So you can create very light tints or very dark shades of different colors by adding either white or black to a color. Yeah, I think that's going to be it with colors. So, colors are super important in your work and in your emotions projects. You should absolutely be using the right colors. So, for anger, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to want to probably use some dark colors, maybe like black in the background, and then maybe a red in the foreground. That's gonna really pronounce the anger. Also for anger, you're probably going to want to use a lot of sharp angles, sharp lines. That's going to really give some intensity to your font. So how do we use different fonts? Well, there is actually a link right here to 1001 fonts. So in order to use a font, you can click on here. And all of these are different fonts that we can use, and we can kind of click through here. So I'm just gonna search right here for angry, and we can kind of see the different angry fonts that we have. Notice when I just typed in angry, there's a lot of sharp angles with this fonts, very sharp angles. There's not a lot of rounded edges. Again, that really denotes like power and strength and maybe almost agitation. So let's say I really like this this font right here. I want to use this. So what we would do is we would click on the download button, and this is Google Chrome, so it's going to download right here. I would click on this zip file, and it's going to open up, and I'm either looking for a OTF file, .otf or .ttf, either one. Double click on this, and then I want to double click on Windows Font Viewer, so double click on that, and now I'm going to go ahead and hit install. So now that I've installed this, I'm going to go ahead and open up Adobe Illustrator. I can now use that font. and I need to make sure that I remember the name of this font. So this one's called Anger Management. So your document should be File New. It should be 11 inches wide, inches, by 8.5 inches high. Okay. Let me go ahead and now, in terms of my text, I'm just going to go ahead and add text right here. I want to find, this one was called Anger Management. So I just typed it in. You could also like click right here and find it. Anger Management right there. And this is going to be anger. Now maybe I want to increase the size of this. So 72. 72 might not be big enough, but notice that's the biggest one that I can use. So actually I'm just gonna, I can type in a number here. I can type in like 150. You can type in really any number you want here. Maybe I'll use 175. That looks pretty good to me. Okay, and then I need to think about what color do I want this. Well, I already kind of told you, maybe a red, very vibrant color, so we can use maybe a red. And again, I'm going all the way to this top corner. I'm not going to use, again, look, these are our tints right here. I'm adding white to red, and here is my shades right here. I'm adding black. So I'm going to use actually very pure red right there all the way in the top. Click OK. And that's going to make this red. If I wanted to add maybe an outline to this, I could by using this right here. So if I added black, let me add a stroke to that. So the stroke is our outline right there. The bigger the stroke, the more I have an outline. So that's probably way too much, but if I go 0.5, it's almost not visible at all. If I want no stroke, no outline around this, you can just go ahead and make that nothing, and I can change the stroke color to something else. So maybe I want my stroke to actually be like a yellow, and then I'll go ahead and make this, I don't know, 5. Let's try 5. Boom, that's really popping for me. So now, in my background, I'm going to want to find a dark image. So I'm actually going to open up my layers here, and I'm going to create a new layer and drag this all the way down. Lock this because I really like that. And then I'd want to find a dark image. So I'm going to go, I don't know, abstract dark. Whoops. Dang. Abstract dark. Then I go to images, and I'm going to want to find something that has a lot of sharp angles to it. I actually really like this image, so please don't use this one. I'm going to copy this image, paste it in my background. Ooh, that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and transform this thing, scale it down a little bit. So hold down the Shift key when we're transforming. Alright, so that looks pretty good to me. So then that would be pretty much it for this one. Notice how you can really read the text on there. It's very easy to read. I'm using like very hot, angry colors in the foreground. I'm using very sharp angles right there. And then again in the background, we see a lot of sharp angles, almost jagged edges. It's very dark and gray in my background. That's going to be a very angry image right there. And as opposed to my very happy image right there. So again, you're going to be creating 3 different things. You're going to be creating one for anger, just like the one that I did. You're going to be creating one for relaxation, and then you're going to be one creating that you did. Please fill this out first, describing what colors are you going to use, what types of shapes are you going to be using for your fonts, what's going to be in the backgrounds in terms of colors, are you going to be using what's the texture that you're going to be using. A really rough, jagged texture is going to be much more aggressive than a very smooth, happy texture. You're going to write all that right there. Then you also need to print these, and I'm going to be hanging them up. You can kind of look. I this is an example of some of the work that was done last year. So you can kind of see now some things to point out. This anger one right here, it's kind of hard to read the word right there. So I actually took off points. The reason that it's hard to read is because they're using kind of this white and then red. White and red, it's kind of hard to read those two things. If you are having a hard time making your words legible, this one is really hard to read. It's really hard to read the word relaxation. So if you're having a hard time making your words legible, think about adding a stroke color to your text. Again, the way that you add a stroke color to your text, we can just add a stroke right here. So maybe, if this red was really hard to read, this is the fill color right here. This is our stroke color. Think about adding a different stroke color to your text. Also think about the tints that you're using. If the background, for instance, on this one, the background is actually relatively hard to write on because you have light right there, very light bright, and then like a very vibrant blue. So if you have very vibrant colors in the background, then your foreground should have a very light tint. And the back and forth. This one's perfect for relaxation right there. This one's perfect for anger right there. Very easy to use those. This is a great one for mystery right there. It's not so good though for anger right there. Really hard to read that R. So your legibility is super, super, super important. But you're going to print these out. I'm going to hang them up on the wall. Again, you need to do 3 of them. You don't need to take pictures of your work, but you do need to print them out and turn them in. And then you need to obviously upload your work to this Google Classroom assignment. The last thing that you need to do once you finish this, and this project I'm guessing should probably take most of the week, once you've finished with this project, you can then work on your quarter-long project. Your quarter-long project is going to be due actually next Friday, so you have 2 more weeks to work on that one. Whew, okay. So that was a lot of information. Please let me know if you have any questions. Yeah, hopefully you found